All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2024. What is it today? January 7th. Starting up the Spincast again. We had a 2-week break. I'm your host, Brian Kellison, co-host Lee Zavarese and Brian White, respectively. Raising your hand already, Brian. Let's go. You just fixed your audio. You just fixed your audio. Audio challenges before we start the show, but everyone have a good break.
Fantastic.
Yeah, mine was excellent. I've been on break since November 15th, so mine was a little more extended than you guys.
Yes,
That's a good break.
You've had a knee break or broken, sliced up knee. So
yeah,
we can get into the topics, but we can talk about what we did over the 2 weeks real quick. I dealt with bathroom not being finished bathroom now, no kitchen, sort of eating out of boxes and prepared food and stuff like that. So house remodeling, that's what I've been dealing with, and training for the topic tonight. But Lee, what'd you do?
I was in Mexico the entire Christmas, and then I got sick.
Buenos dias. Muy bien.
So I've been like, it was, I guess, awesome and not awesome all at the same time. Because if you're sick, you're on a beach, you're swimming, drinking beer, still pretty fun. But it's lingering.
All that good
I've been
recovery.
sick for like a week.
Yeah. Brian?
I just did basically riding, hanging out with everyone else, kind of the same stuff. It was nice being able to actually see the family at Christmas, because normally on holidays, I got to work. So I was around for everything, which was pretty cool. So that was my biggest, takeaway is from being off, is I was able to actually spend time with everyone.
That's good. All right, we'll get into the topic of preparing for ENATs. I did it. Lee's preparing for Canada, which they had a reasonable date, which is in February. So we'll get into that eventually. But Brian probably wanted to do it. I don't know. Did you want to do it?
Did, and probably would have got smoked and not even stood a chance, but I would have participated. The
40 to 44s?
I'm 39 right now.
Oh, you're
I don't know.
Oh, you're in the.
It's a young guy.
You're in the Jaden Yeager. I think
Yes.
No, Jaden's 40 plus. You're in the Scott Cannizzaro.
Yeah. So, and I don't know how they
Eugene,
do.
one of my teammates, Eugene, got 6th in that race. No.
Yeah.
Eugene is a 40 plus. He was in Jaden's thing. But yeah, you're new masters.
Yeah. So I don't know if I turned 40 in May, so I don't know when the cutoff date is. So I don't know.
You're race age 40.
Yeah. So I'd be 40 to 44.
You would have been in that race.
Yeah, because it's December 31st of that year.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to say that I'm in the 40 to 44 range.
Here's another member of the family here. This is Cole, Cole. Started out as Coal. But
yeah, that's right. You got to stay cool, man.
Yeah, I tried to. It started out like we adopted from our realtor who helped us get the house. She's super nice, rescues kitties, farm feral, boom. That's how I hit. But you see the bulldog all the time, Frenchie. We'll get into leading up to this, preparing for this, because I know we touched on it, a couple episodes ago. I don't even know what episode we're on. That's Lee's job.
Even to episode 1.
Yeah. Was it episode 1 where I was like, hey, we're doing this? And I touched on this on my show, and being mentally on through the holidays was very challenging, obviously, with a lot of the other stuff in the home remodel, or not total home remodel, but the bathroom remodel and the kitchen and the other bathroom, and worrying about like every single thing you're doing. Like, is this gonna add to a disappointment in the future? That takes a lot. The mental on, mental off. Not only do you have to do the physical you have to either, however you train, if it's a structured thing or if it's a racing thing or you just whatever. For me, this was like an AA thing, obviously being the age group 2-time champion repeating or whatever, trying to compete. And obviously it's on Zwift, it's new people, bigger field, all these things. Am I getting my workouts in? Am I doing this sort of thing? Am I doing all that during the holidays, which it has never been for me, at least. It was always like you shut it down, maybe late September, early September, maybe into October a little bit. Boom. November is pretty much hang out, chill, relax, enjoy some things. And then Christmas, December, Christmas time, and then New Year. And then like, hey, let's ramp things up. 2022 December, I raced every day on Zwift or RGT or whatever it was. I just raced every day. I did a whole month. I did 31 days of racing. And so I went into January and then into February, like really cooked, not cooked bad, but like I was really fit because I had that sort of like huge build, and then a little bit of taper and have some fun. And then it went into Echelon Racing League, which was also still there. And then I was doing midweek cycling Flanders Classics, which was an online RGT thing. And I was racing that with Weebles, Lucas versus Lois. And I remember going in to Nationals last year, Wednesday's race. It was the first race with the steering, and it was like everyone was just all over the place. And I just went as hard as I could to get back to the front group, because it was a very short, the Flanders Classics were very short races. They were like 16 kilometers. They were like super short, and they just had an Indian. It was like the last 15 to 16 kilometers of a Tour Flanders or Dwars door of Vlaanderen or something like that. And I set a new FTP of like almost 400 watts per kilo for 400 watts, not watts per kilo, 400 watts for FTP. And it was like 390 something. And I was like, wow, I'm really fit. And then obviously racing that weekend, I did a big breakaway, got away, all the other stuff. This one was not as structured. I did workouts. I tested things. It was hard to kind of race. Like I did race simulations too on RGT with Magic Roads and the course, because you could use the real courses and you can use your own GPX file, but it was a real course that we were doing it. It was on that gravel Dirty Reaver, which was like 4 climbs. And there was places where I knew I could kind of do stuff. Coming into this one was the field was better or bigger. And some of the people that were there, and obviously, spoiler alert, Mason Rocco won this time. Then Brian Breach got second, and I got third. So I podiumed. So 3 years in a row, 3 podiums. I'm happy with that. But going into the race, it was a lot more hurdles because it was so early in January. Having to mentally do that, be on, was tough. And then leading up to it this week, I was like, doing things, working, all these other things. And then like the day before, which was the night before, I had bad sleep. I was worried, nervous about, I'm just getting nervous about competing. Right. And it's a thing I care about. Getting up and then doing all the not as much verification, which we're going to get into the hoops and stuff like that. I just want to give a little recap of like how it went. So then doing the race, getting in the race, doing sort of reacting to things, and which was a new experience where I was reacting because maybe I was more marked and thinking like, where am I going to go? And people were really strong. Like Mason was strong. Ned Bowen was super strong in those races, and he was doing attacks on certain things. And then I remember Ziegler and Brian Hodges and some other people that I recognized. But every lap of the 3-lap race, when we went over the climb, it was, what's that? You got that noise? Hit mute, Brian. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah. The field was thinning out during the race, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe on the second lap, a breakaway, or maybe I could get an attack in or something like that. And then Mason's attack actually happened, and it strung us out so much. and I would just kind of been on the front. I can't remember. I have to look back at the VOD, and I kind of haven't looked back at it, trying to just do my own sort of like, I don't want to, what did I do wrong? Because, I wanted to win, right? The reaction of the field was, hey, that was a big attack. He got a lot of separation. He got up to like 12 seconds. 12, I think he might even got 15 seconds. I don't know how many he got. And we slowly built. I went to the front and was like, I'm gonna dig deep. I don't care if I get whatever, but I'm gonna try to bridge either all of us or just me to get over. So I'm gonna work. I didn't have as much coordination, whether that's people's fitness or people's tired or people's tactics. Then when we got almost on the last lap, we were like 5 seconds, 6 seconds away. And I was like, oh my God, or 8 seconds. And I'm like, holy, right on the last kicker before, or the second to last kicker before the sprint finished to then go down and up. And I went super hard on that to get it to 3 seconds. And then nobody went with me. It was Mullins, and we dropped another guy. It was Mullins, who's breakaway partner in the Echelon first race, and Brian Breach, who got silver. I would then went and was working. Mullins was working too, but Breach, I don't think. At least this is my opinion. This is my perception of it. He didn't work enough to help bridge it and bring back Mason, so that maybe there could be a 3-up sprint or a 4-up sprint if Mullins stayed with us. And so he was kind of reserved with the fact that we weren't going to get him, and that's not sort of tactically how I would have done it. I would have been like, hey, I'll work with whatever. And plus I wasn't saying it in chat, and there's no sort of like communication. I didn't have global chat turned on, so I wasn't communicating. I should have said, hey, you should have work just a little bit. We can bring him back. And I didn't do that because I just didn't. But Casey Shum also brought up a point that it would then let Mason know that I was trying to coordinate a chase. All in all, Mason then held on. The other guy, Brian, sprinted around me, or I was on his wheel. It was 3 of us. He went and I tried to get on him, and he had just a crazy snap, and got separation, got second, and I got third. It was 1.8 seconds to Mason to second, and then it was 4 seconds to me. So it was a lot closer than I expected. Now Mason might have slowed down because he was finishing, but that little kicker climb right at the end is tight. So after that, I was thinking, man, what should I have done differently? And that's what you start to do, is you start to go, should I have gone harder? Should I have attacked here? Should I have done this? Should I have done this? And the last climb, Mason was still off the front. The third lap, where the left turn sort of really defining kicker, I went so deep on that one. That was like really, like I went all the way to the top. I left everything on the top of it. And then on the backside, that's where I could recover a little bit, but I never really re-attacked. And maybe I could have got some more separation. I was trying to get people to help instead of try to ride over to Mason on my own. I don't know if I would have caught him on my own. Maybe I should have tried that. And those are my takeaways. Is obviously I'm happy with the result, but it's bittersweet because maybe it could have played out differently. So, and I don't know if you guys watched it or not. Do you guys have any notes on that?
Actually, what I thought was interesting was I think it was Casey actually in chat on the last lap.
I was not paying attention to chat, by the way. So anyone that was in chat, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, because you weren't. We knew you weren't paying attention. But Casey said, I'm pretty sure it was Casey. He said, over the rise of this final sprint, you got to go hard over the top. And you did exactly that. And you seriously went from like 8 seconds to like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And we can see him on your screen. And I was thinking, he's right there. He's right there. Like you can see him, like he's so close. But I think like Mullins was pulling a bunch. He just fell. He worked pretty hard, but I think it just fell apart. But it sort of leads me to, I don't think you do anything different. You left it all out there, but should you be able to do age groups and elites? Because I think I was a proponent of being like, yeah, that's cool. You can do both races. But after watching all the age groupers yesterday, I'm thinking.
So yesterday was age group. Masters age groups,
Yeah.
and
Today was elite.
juniors and masters were yesterday. I believe.
Yeah,
I believe juniors and masters were yesterday, and then U23 and elites were today. I believe.
and after watching all the age groupers yesterday, every age group had a bunch of elites in it. And to me, it felt like the elites were going, well, I'm going to go in the age group and at least get a consolidation, a prize, because I might not win tomorrow. Like there's a better chance that they're going to win Saturday. So that's what it kind of felt to me. Like I was sort of like, and the race, if Rocca wasn't there, how would have the race played out? Because people were kind of chasing him, not chasing him. Would the pack stayed together? Would it have been a sprint? Maybe you would have won. Maybe you would have still came third, or maybe you would have been like out of it. But it would have completely changed the dynamics because people were sort of chasing him.
Yeah. So
here you can tell he was like another class above.
Yeah. And he's a really
everyone
good,
else was.
He's a great cyclist. Obviously, he's a former basketball player.
Well, and then today in the elite race, he launched an attack at like over 1,000 watts with a kilometer left.
Yeah.
Zwift Community Live was like, what is he doing? Oh my God. And I thought he was going to actually take it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
here's
the dude winning elites.
Yeah. So here's the thing is, you bring up a great point. It is sort of like the consolation, but it's not, because it's still masters racing, right? So you're still racing against quality masters racers. But I think the way the 50 plus played out and we'll get to that, but the 50 plus played out, and then below 50 plus, so 45 to 49, which is my category, Mason, you have me, Ned Bowen, Brian Hodges, who, from what I understand, has not been training as much leading up to this, but he's got a great sprint. And there's other, like the guy who came in second, he races on Stages Cycling. There's other people. So there can be this sort of argument for younger masters not being allowed to race elites, but growing the sport, I think it's good to have as many people racing as much as possible, because we were, not only Mason was there, Jaden was there, Scott Canizaro is a 35 plus rider. Who else is there? Some other riders that Eric Hill, I believe, is a masters rider. So we can still, obviously I didn't hang as much as I envisioned myself doing, but I think I did really well today in the elites. I thought I'm very happy with my elite performance, but I'm with you on the, hey, that's sort of like messes things up. Like you choose one or the other. And Mason did that 2 years ago. Yeah. When he won. So Mason's a former elite masters winner, or no, excuse me, elite USA cycling rider. He won in 2022. I don't recall if you could race one or the other. And I think it might've been, you can only race one or the other. You can't race both. And maybe they changed that. I'd have to go back and look at the 2022 rule set.
The RGT was you could only ride one.
It was. Yeah.
One or the other.
I think it was one or the other. Yeah. So this, Mason maybe would have chose elites. If you could race both. That's the thing.
I was trying to get Cycling Canada to have, you could race both, but I was doing it from a standpoint of, I'm not competitive. I'm willing to pay the extra $25 because I would like to see more participants in the elite category, because I don't want the sport to die due to lack of participation. So I said, I'm willing to pay extra money, but then from me, I'm thinking I'm off the back anyways. There's no chance that I'm ever going to even win age group or the elites. So for me, I'm just a body.
So,
but
okay.
After witnessing what happened yesterday, I'm kind of thinking, no, I don't really like that you could race in both. Or like Casey pointed out, maybe if you win on Saturday, you're out Sunday, which would make the elite guys maybe stay in the pack and go, I'm going to use this race as a warm up, but I'm not going to win because, like Casey said, there's not a chance that a team like Restart or No Pins would be like, dude, you won and now you're out for the elites. We need you to pull.
What do you think, Brian? I got one more thing. I want to go ahead, but yeah.
No, what Casey and Lee were saying about, like, my perspective is if I'm racing the age group, I'm not elite. I will never get there. If I'm racing age group and have a shot to win, but there's an elite guy in front of me that will race on Sunday, that would put a real bad taste in my mouth, because my one shot is racing in this 40 to 44 range and hoping that I'm the best of that day.
Okay.
But then a guy on Sunday, like let's say the guy on Saturday, I'll just make up numbers. Let's say I get in shape, lose some weight. I can do 4.6 watts per kilogram. That's my max. I use it to my benefit on Saturday. And let's say I finish second or third, but a guy that's just chilling and racing out sprints me and then goes on Saturday or Sunday, and then he's like in the front pack. That's kind of irritating to me, because I will never get to that elite perspective. Granted, like if he wins and he's out Sunday, that's fine. It's fair play, because he got his shot. He got his trophy. You know what I mean? But if you can do that, take one for me, and then you just say place 15th overall on Sunday, I feel that's kind of
okay.
To me, it's like I actually want to have a shot.
I'm leaning more towards that now. Lee, you bring up a great point, because I remember Mason raced elites and won in 2022, but he didn't race in my age group, and I didn't really know he was my age. I guess I did, but I didn't pay attention to it. And I raced masters, and I didn't race elites, which was on the Sunday. You race Saturday, you race Sunday. Jaden Yeager, who won yesterday in his age group, 40 to 44, he raced elites last year, I believe, and he raced masters the year before, because I think he had a conflict on Sunday, and that's why he raced masters, and he won the masters because he was in our race. He got second place overall in the race 2022. Canizaro won the race outright, and he was a 35 plus. Jaden was 40 plus, and I was the 45 plus. And he went 1, 2, 5. And so the two other guys got second in their age groups. It was a 35 plus and a 40 plus. But they didn't race. Those people didn't race elites last year. Scott Canizaro won last year in elites, and I don't believe he raced, because it was you can only choose one or the other. And I think Cycling Canada maybe has kept that rule set from the previous years. And this year, the USA was like, hey, maybe you just want to improve numbers so people can race both. But it does exclude, like Alan Lowe, one of our community members. He can't race Saturday. He can only race Sunday. And so,
yeah, I don't know how to quantify, like Alan was saying, what's elite or not. My thought process is, like I think Zachary said there, if you're on one of the Grand Prix teams, like if you're on that roster, that's a good start. It's like you're elite, So I don't know.
Well, no. Elite is anybody. Elite is an open category. It doesn't matter if you're 100 years old and you feel like you can compete with the elites. It's open. It's open. There's no age group. When you race age groups, you can only race within your allotted age group, right?
I would bring it to the point where you had to pick one.
Yes.
So you wouldn't have to categorize people saying you're elite, you must race elite. It's like you pick one, and what one do you want to do? If you're going to race age group, you can't race elites. If you want to race elites, you can't race age group. So all of those top dudes would pick elite for sure, 100%.
Yeah, because maybe
there's way more. Yeah. As much as you got third in your age group, I feel your effort today is like 20th when you on that last race in elite is like super impressive, and that's almost outweighs.
Yes, I feel better about how deep I went. I sent you guys my intervals ICU emails. I got 3 FTP boosts for 3 races that I did today. And that's the thing is about like racing is when I usually race, sometimes I leave it all out there. But it was a more tactical race yesterday. And today was just, I tried to be as tactical in the third race, but the first one was survival because I knew, Richmond, I always get popped on that first climb with the elites or with the bigger climbers. I get popped and then I have to survive.
Yeah. I was watching, I was riding at the same time and I was watching, and when you hit that, it was absolutely incredible how fast that front group took off.
Right away.
That is just so
Just right away.
impressive. Like,
Yeah.
That was incredible.
And it's
because
like,
it honestly, it's how I feel in a ZRL race. Like,
ZRL is
I know
nothing
I'm
to
getting
compare anything to. Don't compare anything to URL.
Okay. It's that's the feeling is like I get there and I have to work my ass off just to try to catch back up. And that's because when I was going in, man, I felt your pain, and oh man, that was so hard. But like you said, you went harder and put more work into today's than you did yesterday.
Okay, so here's the thing: is I slept better, I less pressure, not having to worry about it. Not as the two-time, as the back-to-back champion, trying to go for my third, new stuff, all that stuff. But out of the respect of like, hey, I want to try to win again, which is validation for me of, hey, I can race, a larger field, maybe stronger riders on Zwift. It's different than RGT. That was a lot of pressure for me. I put that on myself. This was like I was talking with chat. I started streaming earlier. I didn't mess up my weight thing, which we'll get into. All the stuff that I needed to do, prepare for Saturday was like, I ate, I had my food. I was like, I had dinner. I enjoyed myself. Not that I didn't have dinner before, but I was like regimented. Last night I was like snacking and everything. I lost 0.2 kilos from last night, from Saturday morning to Sunday morning. So then the pressure was off. Then you can perform. That's the thing, is that's the sports psychology of it, is trying to limit your personal ambition stress. To allow you to race freely. Right now, Canizaro's coming in as the current national champ for the United States. Maybe he wants to do well, but he just raced and probably won the Masters. So he's like, I already got one in the book. I already got one in the bag. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to stress. So I'm with Lee. I'm leaning towards Lee. Like, it should be one or the other. I like Scott, the one or the other.
Scott, I actually watched. He was in the race that Dave Garge was in. I was watching Dave Garge's stream, and Scott he pretty much just walked away from the field.
Yeah.
At the point that I saw it, at one point, I think he had like a 30-second lead, and it was just like cruise control. But yeah, he's like, I'm going to win this. And then, the elites is like, whatever.
Yeah. And he probably just worked as a team member for Duffy or whoever. So yeah, I'm for, hey, have it one or the other, masters or elites. I'm with that. I hope Cycling Canada doesn't listen to you, Lee. I hope that.
No, I actually already retracted my message. Okay. Cycling Canada was like, don't listen to me. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I'm going to do the survey. I'm going to do the survey and bring it up. I think it did help the numbers, but I think in hindsight, it maybe has softened the prestige of the elite. That's the thing. I think I was trying to, before Brian made his points, was the prestige of Mason winning the first one, because it was the first one. 2022 was the first one. I remember watching that race. It was so awesome with Mason and Kevin Bouchard-Hall and these guys. They were going on, because it was on the Colorado State road on RGT. And it was like I think it was 3 laps. And it was like, you had to do it 3 times. And then at the end, it was like 4 or 5 people. And Mason timed it perfectly, because it came into back into town. And there's a little uphill, kind of like there was in the Canada one, but the Canada one was a magic road. This was like the actual course. And Mason timed his sprint from so far out, because he has so much power that he can hold. He did it so well. And Mason was on the Nowhere Fast podcast, which is Kevin Bouchard-Hall and Mike Swart from Restart Racing. And he was saying, Kevin was like, gave him kudos. He's like, dude, you timed it perfectly. Like, your sprint was your sprint. And it was so tactically savvy that the prestige of that first, elite esports championship was just awesome. And so he has a Masters one, maybe he would have won this one. I don't know, but having the decision to make, hey, do I want to go for the prestige, or do I want to go for, not having that sort of choice? It sort of softens the blow. I'm with you, Lee. I'm with you on this. So All right, let's get into the hoops of jumping through to do this stuff to compete. So we're going back because I know Casey Shum has agreed to join us at a future date because he's been listening to the show and he's been making notes. So we're going to have notes from Casey, notes on the show of Casey Shum. But one of the things that we were talking about Friday, and I talked to another member of the community, Arrow Potato, Scott Yarosh, I think Scott Yarosh, I think that's his name, Yarosh, and Casey Shum were considering doing it, but they wanted more clarity on what was actually going to be doing to do all the hoops, right? All the hoops you got to jump through. They wanted it spelled out and done all to the T. And what I was saying is they kind of had a generalization. And then when you did sign up, you then got more clarity on what exactly you needed to do. You fill out a Google form, which is the IndieVelo portal. You build your own shared folder and you upload your stuff to that. It was very simple to do verification, or the required verification, whether that's that's a more longer topic of what should be the verification, but supplying the things that the Echelon Racing League / USA Cycling / IndieVelo verification team, it was really easy to do for tech people, but that was the argument for having more clarity and more like details publicly facing. And Casey also brought up, hey, I don't need to know how the soup is made. It's more of like, I just want to need to know, like, do you need a weight video or height video? It was just said height and weight. It didn't say video. It didn't say YouTube link. It didn't. So what's your guys' take on the public facing of all super detailed, or just, hey, this is what we're going to ask for. When you guys sign up, you'll get all the details.
The Google form you had to fill out, how in depth was that? Because I've noticed the Cycling Canada form they're asking for trainer model number, serial number, firmware.
I think they did that. I can't remember exactly what it was. I was kind of I think I said this on the podcast when I did it. Eric Hill from Echelon emailed me and said, hey, can you do this and see if everything works? And I I only gave him a couple notes, but it was name, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like all the things that you would do is be like, hey, here's my make and model and serial number in the firmware. And then shared folders for here's all your verification. And then here's your rider bio stuff. So like Zwift Community Live had a folder that they could access and get somebody's, their photo, what they like, their pet's name, whatever. And then there's one where it was like I believe that was the IndieVelo portal is, hey, I need to check out Brian Kellison's weight verification. We'll get into what I did on Saturday. They can they have everyone's list because it builds a form, right? It's actually, I believe it builds a form of everyone that fills it out. It's like, hey, Brian's stuff, and here's his Google Share folder for all his verification stuff. So every time I had a video file for Echelon or for ENATS, which was, I did it the morning of, or you can do it 24 hours before, you then upload it to that share folder. Well, then the verification team can go and access that. They don't have to reach out to you. It's just there. If they go there and it's not there, then they reach out to you, right?
I think for 2023, those were hoops. This was just filling out a form.
This was easy.
2023 was, like as Casey said, he didn't want to do a Zata test. 2023, you had to film yourself for an hour and submit a 1 hour film of you doing efforts. Yeah. Like it was, and you actually the weigh-in video as well, you had to weigh a known weight on your scale, film it, and be like, here's the known weight. Here's me holding it.
Yeah,
here's
I did
me
that.
on the
So
scale.
that's still, I believe that's still the protocol. At least that's the protocol that I do. And I can play my video. We can look at my video if you want. I can send it to you, Lee, if you want. And you can play the way that I do it. But Brian, what do you think for verification?
Well,
do you like hoops or you don't like hoops?
If I'm going to pay money I'll go back to Echelon Racing League. Your first race, you got DQ'd. You
I got
spoke
filtered.
with Echelon.
Filtered,
Right.
not DQ'd. No, I was DQ'd.
Well,
I was filtered or whatever it was.
you spoke with Echelon, and they said, "Oh, that's a Zwift Power thing." Well, we demonstrated that you can be above 4.5 and 4.6 and still be in a B race. So like they didn't even know what they had the settings up for their own race. So I feel that within the whole bubble of Echelon, you paid money and there's a lot of gray area, a lot of unknown. You shouldn't have been disqualified at that race. The next race, you bumped up to an A.
Yeah, I think Casey said that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mullins stayed at B for that next race. Like a week later, he got to an A.
No. He was upgraded.
That day,
Okay, sorry. You're right. Okay, so what?
So
let me jump in. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Here's the thing that I think is, I found this out today, or no, yesterday. Okay. No, Friday night. We assumed Kevin Mullins is the guy I race with, who was in a breakaway with me. There is Lee, bring up Zwift Power, bring up your Zwift Power profile, or both bring up your Zwift Power profile. Okay. This is for everyone's watching or listening, whatever, whatever. There is a little thing underneath your photo that says refresh profile. If you don't hit that, whatever you do in Zwift.com does not actually show up on Zwift Power. I changed my photo because I had my national championship jersey photo on my bio, and I wanted to change it before the race because essentially my jersey lasts to the day before the event. So, Cinderella, at the clock starts midnight, boom. I'm no longer. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to change my photo. And I went and I did it. Yeah. And I'm like, I hit it, and I'm like, man, my photo didn't change. And I'm looking on because I did it through Zwift Companion app. Because that's and the communication that came from Echelon and from the USA Cycling, which is Echelon, was, hey, update your Zwift through the Zwift Companion app, blah, 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 these sort of things. But this is why I can't stand Zwift Power. If you don't hit refresh, I bet you Mullins doesn't even know you have to hit refresh. He's been updated in Zwift.com. And then his Zwift Power, we keep looking at his Zwift Power, and he's like, oh, he's a beast. He probably didn't hit refresh. That's what I'm assuming. Does that make sense?
Casey's got a point.
Any of my Tour of Watopia rides on Zwift Power, and when I hit refresh, it now says I've done like 15 more races than I had.
Which I didn't know this until Friday when I changed my profile.
Like going back to October, it just added all of them.
Yeah.
I was at 228 races. I hit refresh profile, and I'm at 239 now.
We learned something tonight, and I learned it on Friday. And that's why I wanted to jump in, because Brian, you bring up a great point. Yes, the settings on Echelon, and I think because Deb Bowen brought this up to me. He was talking to me offline, and he was like, hey, I think their settings are wrong because ZRL does not, I don't think, have that. That's why people in ZRL can do 500 watts, for 25 minutes, and they don't get cared because they turn that off. They're like, we don't care about anybody being watts per kilo. We want everyone to finish and no have like weirdness. Where Echelon is coming back to Zwift. There's more stuff, and they're learning. And I'm okay with it. Obviously, it wouldn't have been I didn't want it to be, and we touched on this. I didn't want it to be weird for like, hell, this guy's doing, why is he racing Bs? It's like, I thought I was racing Bs. Maybe I was an A and I never hit refresh until I just knew now. Like I never who logs into Zwift.com? Nobody logs into Zwift.com. We all go to Zwift Power. That's why I want Zwift Power to go away.
I'm with Casey on this because we have done a lot of figuring it out.
Investigative reports.
If you get an upgrade or a change, Zwift.com will refresh to Zwift Power either that night or the next night, depends on when they're cycling through.
Yeah, because we did this, and I went from B to A in Zwift.com, but it took a while for me to get it on Zwift.
I think it was 2 days for you to show up for 2 days. Yeah. And then for me, I know when I went up to A last spring, and then I did another effort, it was immediate on Zwift because I somehow did a harder effort, then went back down to B. But Zwift Power, it was like a one day went to A, then the day later it was like a day delayed. The thing that maybe I've misread it, not looked at it right. It seems to me like the USA side of Echelon rules and the national championships were much more vague than the Canadian. The Canadian seems to have like, boom, for like much more in detail about what you're doing. I don't know if maybe I glanced over it, didn't look at those right documents or whatnot, but I'm fine with the hoops. The biggest thing for me is because like when you're talking about making a Google shared folder, I've never done it. I can build a computer and I can do a little bit here, with the tech side of it, but like that part of it, I've never done it. Might be super simple. I filled out some Google Docs. So if it's something similar to that, then I can do it. So that could be something like in my mind, the way it works is kind of like the eBio passport. I remember Lucas, Dr. Weebles went through it and then I think
Weebles is a unique case. Weebles is a unique case. He's very, very non-techie. Like I had to help for Flanders Classic. I had to help him with his weigh-in videos.
Yeah. So having never done a race that required that yet, I don't know. Like to me, in my mind, it's like, hey, I'm going to do this on Echelon. So Echelon has a place where I go, and I'm like, here's my video for this. Here's whatever you need. Boom, boom, boom. There, and they have it. It's like not on my end to create this to give to them. It's like, you want this, you keep it on your side, and then I provide the information. In my mind, that's how it would work. It would take it out for me, Dr. Weebles. I'm probably, you probably give me the information, I could probably figure it out. But there may be some people that aren't able to. But just in my mind, it's like, hey, you want this, I'll give it to you. You keep it under my Brian White folder.
Yeah. I think that's the reason why the Google Docs became the thing, because, and this goes into what I think is happening, is George and Bjorn from Indie Velo were former Zwift ZADA, which is Zwift Anti-Doping Agency. I don't know what that is, or Deceptive Agency. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the acronym stands for.
Bjorn invented.
Casey was the guy. So he could tell us.
Right. So I think this is the reason why there was no 20-minute test, which sucks, or the 13 minutes, the 5-minute test, the 30-second test, the 10-second test, or whatever it is, and recorded it for 5. That's so much for people to do in previous years, and for anything in the future, is they're trying to be ahead of the curve on analyzing people's actual power going on based on their history of what they've done. And I think that's the reason why you had to do one Echelon Racing League to not qualify, but to initiate entry into the national championships. Now, it's an extra cost, which I can understand. That can be another argument, but I'm saying that I think it's like, you need to race in one so we get data on you, and then you can't race in the national championships, right?
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you do anything with Indie Velo, or was it all within Zwift? I know you rode Indie Velo just here and there, but
no, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything for Indie Velo for verification or anything like that. I just write it because I wanted to write it, because I was having erg issues on my thing.
I'm so curious with this partnership. Like, that's kind of the reason that I've moved away from you. I still use Indie Velo every day.
Indie Velo and Zwift partnership?
Yeah, the racing thing. Like, Bjorn and George had left the Zwift world, and now we're back into it. They're verifying everything you do, and you didn't do a single thing with Indie Velo.
Yeah, but I don't think they're verifying through Indie Velo. I think they're verifying through. I think they've had the agreement, so they have access to the back end to Zwift again.
That's what I mean. Like, that's my biggest problem. Like, we got two platforms that one.
No, it doesn't matter.
It wants
That's
to be
good.
super
No,
racing, and then you got the other one. So it's like, what's the point of having two platforms? What, if one's going to be doing all the verification, everything in the back end, like, there's no separation now. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I think there's separation. I think the verification slice of things is still independent. I think it was just attached because they said in the release, if you look at the release, it's like George and Bjorn from IndieVelo, not, and then everyone wrote the headline of IndieVelo joins with Zwift again. And it's like Wahoo and Zwift have an agreement. I think that they just were like, hey, let's not compete because we're not making any money on RGT and it's kind of pissing you guys off. And if you drop the suit, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't mean like Zwift and Zwift and Wahoo are like this exclusive couple now. Even the guy from even the CEO was like, no, we share stuff with Tax. We share things with other people. It's about what's good for the sport. And I'm getting to my point of IndieVelo. The people from IndieVelo are like the UCI or the Doping Control or WADA, which is World Anti-Doping Agency. And if Flanders, the race promoter is like Zwift. So Flanders, they do their own races. Tour de France, they do their own races. But the control and the verification is from the same people. And that's where I think it separates itself.
But within what was given out is you will have IndieVelo portal. I mean, Casey said the same thing there. So it's like, that's what I'm
IndieVelo portal.
That's my, like you told me I got to do something on IndieVelo. So like, that's what I was curious. Like, do you have to
No, they never asked that.
Yeah.
They never asked anything. They never.
My curiosity behind what goes into this, because I still use IndieVelo, but I've distanced myself from being like into all the things going into it, you know, all the behind the scenes stuff. So like, I know that they can real time kick people out. So do they have that same, like, that's within the IndieVelo system?
They're probably monitoring the races.
So that's what I mean. Like, IndieVelo has that built into their software. I mean, Zwift is apparently don't. So that's kind of what I was wondering. Are they assuming? So are they assuming that at this point everyone is good to go, and then it's like, okay, hey, this seemed weird. We'll check that out after the fact. That's kind of what I'm wondering.
I think it is after the fact because there was some. Yeah. I think there was some learnings, and they were voiced in communication. The communiques that came from during Echelon, and you go in, and this can get into my thing, is you can go into, hey, I have formal thing, or hey, whatever. What it is the only requirements were from my memory, and obviously there was the little handout that they did, the PDF from USA Cycling, was height verification or height video. They didn't really say video. We touched on that on my stream on Friday. Height video, weight video, Zwift power profile that was current and up to date with your photo of who you are, not your dog or whatever, like some, like cool avatar. You have to have a photo of you, and Zwift companion app, Zwift profile has to have that same sort of thing. And one Echelon Racing League race under your belt. Those, I believe, are the only ones that you needed to do. Everything else was, do I need to do a 20-minute thing? It's because of the old sort of verification. But other than that, that's all I did, right?
Well, if possible, now that Zwift takes into account all your rides, so they have all your data filed, saved under your thing, instead of like just the race data on Zwift Power. So maybe that was a switch from where they didn't have to do those 25, 20 minutes, 5. Yeah. So that's a very good possibility to that switch over to that.
Right. So like, let's say you never ride on Zwift ever. Okay. You're only IndieVelo, or you're a Ruby person, or you're just coming off the street. Scott Cunningham, I think, brought this the congratulations, the 50 plus champion for the United States for 2024, Scott Cunningham. He said there was somebody that signed up that didn't do an Echelon race. I do not believe he was in the start list. I think that they checked that and were like, hey, you can do 0 Zwift for the entire year. You cannot race in the national championships because they won't have any data. You have to have at least one thing. And I believe this is the future, is they can analyze who you are based on one race. Now you can try to manipulate it, do whatever you want to do, blah, blah, blah. But if they got data on you and they can get all of that stuff on the back end, they have at least something based on your verification, and you have to do all the other things. You say, I'm this person and I'm this person. Right? I think that was the reason why. It was also like to help promote it, maybe, sort of like twofold, but it was also like we got to get some data on these people before they just show up to do the national championships.
See, actually, it's funny. I'm wondering if Indie Velo can see, or Zwift power, like the power profiles in Zwift, or the back end of Zwift is somehow being routed through Indie Velo for verification. Like they see the power, because part of the whole benefit of Indie Velo, like I'm looking at Indie Velo's updates. Update 2.28 added real-time performance verification to detect miscalibrated trainers.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a previous one they had added real-time ability to detect sticky watts, and they'll actually DQ you during a race for sticky watts. So Indie Velo has a ton of this stuff where they could flag someone mid-race, but how is Indie Velo verifying this at the same time as this race is going on? We have no idea.
We don't have an idea, and I don't know. And this is part of the thing, is like maybe it's a proprietary thing that Zwift has it, and Indie Velo helped them develop it. And where Indie Velo is more forthcoming, and they're, because they're open, but they're probably working. That's why the partnership. So like you think, oh, partnership, they've probably been partnering and doing things, and they're like, hey, we'll just have you partner with us.
No, like actually,
and get it going.
Update 2.27, improved real-time performance verification of sticky watts, improved real-time performance verification of bot usage, improved real-time performance verification of malfunctioning hardware, improved real-time performance verification of excessive dropouts. Like that is a lot of verifications.
Yeah, right. And so that's probably why Zwift is like, we don't have a team to do this. Let's partner with Indie Velo, the people from Indie Velo, not so much Indie Velo doing all this stuff, but have expert eyes on this so that we can get away from the Zada test and all the other stuff, so that it can make less hoops for people and more confidence in people to go, hey, they can catch you real time. They don't, like you can manipulate the stuff on your end if you have more control out of it. And like, that's the thing, is like Casey was bringing this up, future guest, Casey Shum. He was bringing up like, hey, we're doing dual record. Like I did triple recording, tertiary. Right. And so when you are the one in control of all your stuff, I could have taken those and manipulated those, but I can't manipulate the Zwift ride, and I can't manipulate the dual recording in Indie Velo. I can only manipulate my power meter pedals going to, allegedly, I'm not manipulating them. I'm not even that good to probably figure out how to do it, but it's in my control and I'm sharing it, right? What they're doing is they're just matching them to something that you're doing. So if you're like way off on your recorded dual recording thing, that's, I think, the next step for the Zwift world of serious racing. And Casey's going to come on, and we don't want to talk about all the stuff but dual recording going right into the game, then Zwift has control of it, and then they can go, oh yeah, you're good, or your stuff is good, or you have a problem with this and you need to figure it out, or we need more stuff. That's the thing, is in the footnotes, they were like, we need more stuff. If we need more stuff, we'll ask for more stuff. So we'll go, and let me just finish this on my weight thing. So what I did is all the stuff I was doing, preparing for it, I forgot to enter my weight. I did the weight verification and I sent the video file, but I forgot to put my weight in. And I immediately said, I don't think I did that. And I said that on my stream, and I'm saying it here. And I emailed Echelon, or Eric Hill and Frank. They know. They sent it off to Indie Velo verification. They say, Eric was saying, I don't think there's going to be an issue. It's like one kilo or whatever. But if it's going to go off to the verification team, if anything comes back, and I said, I'm totally cool with that. I said, I am not being deceptive. I just made a mistake, but I understand the repercussions if they come down the line. And there you go.
Maybe they changed your weight and they reran your race in the virtual world with everyone's fit files and said, that 1 kilogram, it would have been 2 seconds faster.
Maybe. Yeah,
Like,
I don't.
who knows?
Sure, if that's what they can do. But I was, full disclosure, I felt horrible during the race because I was like, oh my God, I forgot this one thing, which is pretty important and a rule. And I owned it. I said on my stream,
What,
and I said it. Go ahead.
what was it? 1 kilogram more or less?
I raced at one less, and my verification was 87.8 kilos, and I raced at 86.7, I think. 86.7 was my race weight because I had that for Echelon the week before, and I forgot to do it in Zwift. Usually, this is what I usually do. I have like a full routine, but what I usually do is I can play my weight verification. What I usually do is what I would do for RGT and all the other stuff is I have the screen open to enter the weight after I do my weight verification. So I have the clock behind me that says, hey, this is Brian Kellison, weight verification, blah, blah, blah for this. And here's the time. And I refresh the time and it shows that it's in sync. It's live. Then I go weigh myself and then I come back, or I finished that video, turn it off. And then I immediately go enter what I did. I had so many other things going on to get going. I forgot to do that in Zwift because I was pairing all my stuff, and I just forgot to go into the settings screen because it was my fault. I do it in Echelon. I do it for Echelon. I just forgot that yesterday. I forgot yesterday. That's what I did. So
see, that's the problem.
I emailed them and said it. So
you had a million things to do. You have a lot of sensors. You were triple recording. And that's the other problem with Zwift is that they don't have natively built-in dual recording. Because if it had natively built, you wouldn't be like, oh, I got my Garmin and I got this. You would just jump on your bike. You would have paired up your dual power and been like, here we go.
I wish more Scales auto sync to it as well. That's one thing I wish Scales would auto sync, like a smart scale would auto sync. But
the way I do it, I got a $15 Amazon V-Sync scale or some generic thing. I connected to Fitbit. Fitbit connects to Zwift.
No way, really?
So,
there's a workaround.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a Garmin scale, you can open up a Fitbit account, have your Garmin sync to Fitbit. Fitbit syncs to Zwift.
No, I have a Garmin scale.
Yeah.
All you need is a Fitbit account.
You guys tell me how to do this. All right.
Yeah.
No, because hold on a second. So here's the thing. You guys do weight verification? We're going to try to wrap this up, but have you guys done weight verification videos?
I have, yes. When I was racing with Coalition and kind of like the borderline, I had A power, but I was fluffy, so my B. But they would have me do some of the, more important races, especially when I was on the Platinum League stuff. They wanted, if anyone questioned it, because we were always in the top 10 or higher, they wanted, if anyone questioned it, dual recording and weight verification. So once a week, I did one. Sometimes I just did it on stream because I was running late. You know what I mean? But yes, I've done it. And just like Zwift, there's a delay in Zwift power. Sometimes there's a delay in that Fitbit because I've raced at like 2 kilograms higher before because it didn't sync overnight. And I didn't check it. And then after the race, I'm like, oh, wow, that really sucked. But
the thing too is if because I weigh myself without, and then I hold the weight. We'll go to questions in a little bit. Hold on, let me finish. Then I hold the weight, and then my weight is more. So then I have to get back on and do the one weight so that it syncs. So it's like, I'm going to do like 3 weights. I'll do the one without the weight, which is my weight. Then I do the second one where I'm holding something and I'm like 6.8 kilos more. Then I get off and I have to do another one, and hopefully that syncs in time. Then I'm just like, all right. You have any questions to wrap this up? Go ahead. Go ahead.
For me, it's just, I'll sync it, and then when it happens. For you, you'd want to do the video and then enter it in physically at that moment. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like if you're just weighing yourself through the week, it's no big deal. But in your case, or anyone's case doing these, elite races, I would still enter it right then. Yeah.
And making sure that's the thing, is like all these things that I got to connect. I don't have to do triple power. I just do it because I have it, right? Ned Bowen does it as well. So do we have any questions before we get out of here?
I got just one thing else to add about individual. I know we've been talking about the national championships. we talked about it briefly. The results weren't out. The World Time Trial Champions, and this is partnered with RAM for 6, 12. Let me see.
Race Across America, everybody.
Yeah, Race Across America. They had on IndyVelo on December 6th, and they took a few days to get the results out. But they had a 3-hour, 6-hour, 12-hour, and 24-hour championship. Mike Heaton won the 3 hours with 94 kilometers. Ben Swartz won 6 hours with 216. Marco Reeder won 12 hour with 391. And Lindsay McRae looks like the one the women at 7:33 for 24 hours, and Harold Treese won 692. And there's a lot of strong people in our chat. Let's hope that they do this again in December. I'm going to try to compete for the 12-hour just as a training goal for after my knee replacement. January 17th. I know I've done more of this just training on the velodrome in IndyVelo. So everyone in chat is going to steal my thunder. But right now, the current, I guess, official record is 39 kilometers for the men and by Harold Treese, and Carol Reuter has 38.3 kilometers in 1 hour on IndyVelo velodrome. So January 17th is the next one coming up. I will post it here, and this type of thing, I don't know. I've never heard of this before until I randomly saw a Facebook post for it for the upcoming World Championships. So if we as a group start doing these, some of this stuff may get more common, and hey, at one point, say if I, Casey, Scott, Brian, you get 42 kilometers for that period of time, you were the fastest man in 1 hour on esports. So that's just something they're doing this, and it's partnered through RAM. So it's got to have some validity to it, especially I broke stuff.
I feel like I could. I
knocked my stand over.
9 kilometers. Like I feel like I could be the 1 hour esports.
Are you
world
fluffy
record
enough?
holder right now?
You're fluffy enough?
39 doesn't seem like a high bar. Honestly,
I'll say
Is that
I did
with
an
wind or
FTP
without
test
wind?
today.
as the
It
men's
didn't
is
say.
39.
Do you want to do an
no
hour
problem,
like
Scott.
I did for the Bologna time trial?
Yeah,
But
well, I
you
was
have to
in
do
the
it.
middle of
You
an
have to do an
FTP
hour-
test
do
when
an
you were
hour
doing
of-
that. Yeah, I was suffering with you. And I want to bring up this point too. Everyone here is pretty much streamers. I don't think there's anyone that's not a streamer in our chat. So we're skewed, but I will say this.
Biased. We're biased.
Yeah. Part of esports, and Zavarits brought this up in our Discord, part of esports is the relationships that you get from tuning in and seeing people do this. I was on an FTP test when there was who knows how many people streaming. Kellison, Alan, Scott, I don't even know. I had an hour to do my workout. I wanted to do an FTP test. I had 9 to 11 people watching me while this was going on. A few chatters. I had 3 people that had never been in my chat before, new people. And when I rated Brian when I was done, there was out of the, I think 9, 6 were different people that didn't
Sorry.
have. So like, I think that was, that was an excellent kind of showcase. You had some random guy doing an FTP test, and people were more interested in that.
I was watching
More
you while I was
people were-
doing my race.
And I was watching you, but I was more interested, or that was interesting to me that people wanted to watch me because they may,
I'm with you. We'll end on this. We'll end on this. Play the music. We don't have music yet, but we'll play the music now. Z's doing. He's dancing to it.
He's working on it.
But you're absolutely right, Brian. And we did talk about this. The story, and then I've brought this up before. Stories is what's making this sport, right?
Yeah.
It's the relationships. It's the look. I don't know you guys. I know you through this, right? I know Casey, Scott, Alan, all these people. We're not leaving people out. I'm just trying to wrap up this show because we're blathering a lot. But the stories and the racing brings us together, and the camaraderie is what keeps us together, right? Is that sort of shared experience So I really appreciate it. That was really cool to hear that you were doing an FTP test. That's the thing, is people get inspired by it. I hope people were inspired by my suffering today. I had fun, but it really hurt. That last race really hurt. But
yeah,
hopefully you experienced it through my stream. And Zwift Community Live, I think was doing. I got to go back and watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but getting the zoom cameras of like what Kolshinsky and like what's her name, Van Helsing, is that her name, Van Hoing, her, like those two competing, and then like the sprint, you see them get out of the saddle, you go, and Jackie Gottby is another one I love watching. Seeing that next to the emotionless avatar makes it exciting. You know, it's like, hey, you know, like when people, like I keeled over on my bike, I almost puked. So going deep in the stories behind that and the reasoning behind that is what's going to make this sport flourish. And that's sort of going back a couple shows ago, the rebirth. You know, we had the sort of down and we lose RGT, blah, blah, blah. So final thoughts so we can get out of here. That it?
I thought yesterday and today was good overall. It seemed like there was a lot of participation in general. It seemed like a good weekend. I didn't get to watch nearly as much as I wanted. I'm going to have to spend the next few days trying to watch some pods of people.
Okay.
But I was very, I watched you yesterday and today, mainly just with times and the stuff I was doing with the family at the moment. But yeah, so I am curious, or not curious, but I'm curious to see how the races unfolded for some guys, and I want to watch that. And it's cool that I have that ability to be able to go and watch some other from their point of view, because we could watch ZCL, but Zwift Community Live. But I think that individual view of Scott or you or Alan.
Oh yeah, I went back and watched Scott. Yeah. Being able to watch somebody watch the VOD, but even just hanging out with people casually is awesome. You know, it's like, I think we need both. We need the high production value of a live stream and a broadcast team. I love that because I come from broadcast world, but it's nice to get the slices in from other perspectives.
Yeah. Like if you take someone like, let's say I'll just pick Pookie. Let's say he don't stream, and his aunt and his mom, hey, my son, you know, they're doing this. They can tune in to watch it on Zwift Community Live. So yes, there needs to be that for the mom, the aunt that might be able to sit and watch this race there, whoever, someone they know is doing it. So that is necessary.
Yeah.
That is.
Because yesterday I wasn't talking as much. I was just like focused on the race. I turned chat off. I didn't look at chat.
Yeah, it had a pinned. BK is not looking at chat.
Well, I was telling you. Yeah, it should have been. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Felty pinned that. Yeah.
Oh, did he? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, Lee. Wave goodbye.
All right.
Go get your ear checked out. And Brian, welcome back to the riding.
Yeah.
You got to let us know when you get out of the saddle. That's going to be a big day.
Yeah, that's going to be a big day.
When you can get
today
out of the
was
saddle.
a big day. Very excited. But when I can get out of the saddle and pedal again, that's going to be exciting.
All right. The music bed has ran out because, all right, cue it again.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. I gotta go shopping. Thanks everyone.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks everyone.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.